Do you think he's shopping right now?
I don't think so.
Do you think he ever shops?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think he does his tree or anything?
I think we're underestimating.
I think he does.
I think he does go shopping.
I'd be fascinated to know if
Yeah.
Jerry, like, do you go undercover to go shopping? Like, are you at North Park with like a gigantic like mustache?
And I'll bet you whatever you want. The answer is no.
I bet he does go out shopping. $20.
$20 done.
I mean, I think he's gone. Like, if you were to ask, like, if he's on his way home from, the Star, if she asked to have him pick up something at Tom Thumb or Albertsons, he goes.
I want the $20 afterwards after Jerry says no. Watch. We'll ask him at the end. Okay. Jerry Jones joining us, brought to you by Ford on Sean and RJ on the home of America's team. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys.
What happened on Sunday?
Well, I think we played a good team at home, and we played badly against a good team at home. Now, you say, well, duh. Didn't we all see that? Give me an idea about some detail. We let them establish the run. They blocked just exactly like Philadelphia had philosophically the game before. And we didn't get penetration. They've got a very good offensive line. We did not get penetration. We have to have penetration in our defensive scheme. And we let them establish the run, and it was downhill for the rest of the time from there. A good team. We don't cash in on our scoring opportunities early. You stay within striking distance. I think we all thought at halftime we had really blown some opportunity, but we had an opportunity to go back out there and have a big second half. We had actually made, as far as possession, made some real good drives. Playing poorly means you give up penalties that negate not just the big play, but they can negate any benefit you get from long drives. Missed field goals, missed 2 or 3 scoring opportunities, and you have the result. And so, but does that mean that in any way that we should throw in the towel? Of course not. That's ridiculous. All these teams are having their ups and downs. They're all good teams. We've got a lot of parity in the NFL. Let's go play a football game, and we will. I'm convinced of that out here against Tampa.
So would you say this was kind of one of those, like, tip your cap to the other team type games and not one that you're fretting over for a couple of weeks?
Well, I don't think we can afford to fret over it. We've got to have our minds, and you have obviously have to do that all the time during the season because you got to get ready to play. And I'm glad we're playing at home. The idea that what I'm interested in is our health. How do we line up out here Sunday against these Buccaneers? And so for better or for worse, we played a very good team. They have some very good. They have a very good to really fine quarterback. And you saw that, and he can beat you. And he's playing at a top level. He hadn't been like this for most of the last year. But he's come around, and the big thing there is we let him establish the run, and when you do that, there's a whole bunch about any defense that starts breaking down.
Jerry, I kind of dismissed the loss because of the whole back against the wall mentality, and I just think it's impossible human nature-wise to play like that for 16 weeks, and you guys have done it for 5 weeks during the win streak. How do you feel about the quote-unquote letdown game, maybe taking a breath after exuding so much effort and energy to get to the spot you're in?
Well, I know that it is rare when you have a complete on all phases, whether it be the kicking game or whether it be offense or defense, and we did it across the board. And we did things that you can't win across the board. Were we in it? Were we in a position for most of the game to come back and win the game? Yes, we were. But that doesn't get it. They're a very good team. At best, they're a team that at home could beat you. And if we were sitting here having this conversation and we had cashed in on a couple of those scoring opportunities, and this thing was down there within a field goal, ifs and buts and candy and nuts here at Christmas time, will get you nothing. But if we had kept that thing within a touchdown, I think we would even have different tones ourselves about how our concerns. Now, don't get me wrong. We are concerned. We should be concerned. Parity is really here in the NFL. There's a lot of competitive teams that have a chance here. And we've got to realize that any team can beat you. They pay their guys, too, when you play them. And they're paid to beat you. And you go out there and give them an opportunity and line it up for them, it can happen to you.
Jerry Jones right here, brought to you by Ford, Rashawn and RJ, 105.3 The Fan. Jerry, were you more surprised by the lack of offense or the Colts with 178 yards on the ground against your second-ranked run D?
Yeah, personally, I was surprised with the inability to stop the run. And I see why we weren't for our lack of penetration, but our inability to stop the run surprised me the very most. Candidly, I thought that our early possessions at first half, time of possession, I thought we were moving the ball pretty good. I think we all know that when you get a field goal blocked or you get get down in that red zone, get as close as we got there a couple of times and had the penalties back us off, or had, if you will, just not execute. I think you all know when you get down like that and don't come away with anything, you're asking for trouble against anybody.
And the red zone has been an issue that we keep asking you about. 19 of 43 on the season, 0 for 2 on Sunday. How do you guys address that and clean that up?
We're not proud of that. We've got a way to get in the end zone that with Zeke, with Dak's ability to keep the ball, and we've got some work to do. While we're talking about red zone, we can talk about even out from the red zone. We've got Cooper, and of course we are sitting here with Beasley. Actually played well, and he really played courageous because of his foot. And I think he's going to be able to go here against Tampa. But Gallup has not had touches. And so we've got a lot of room to basically get in the red zone. We've just got to be more diligent about getting in there. Again, when you play like we played, which we made serious mistakes that will cause you to not score, and then you're up against a team that, for whatever the reason, and they had the reason, home field, got a chance to be in this hunt, playing inspired. I don't think there's anybody that thought we were going to go up there and blow this team out.
Right.
And I think we knew they were a good team. And even the best of the Cowboys' assessment had us playing a close game. And having said that, you go up there and play real bad and do some things like lack of red zone productivity, turnovers, penalties, do those kinds of things, and you can get out of there with the story we have.
Jerry, how do you feel about some of the players afterwards saying they were peed off? We need a little wake-up call, a little slap in the face. Is there such a thing as hitting that reset button, even after all the success, to get refocused for the final stretch?
Well, all of those terms, all of that conversation is indicative of, I'm sure, how everybody feels inside. What I'll assure you is those guys who, when they look at it, they're thinking about their assignment, the guy in front of them. What's that guy going to do, and how are you going to affect what he does? And that's refocused there. We'll have a really hard, good week of practice. We aren't going to be sitting here scratching our heads saying, well, do we rest such and such, or do we do such and such? My experience has been that resting people if you've already gotten it locked up, but being smart about injury, all of that has a compromising aspect to it as well. Well, guess what? We've got us a football game out here against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we got to pin our ears back and win that game. And how you got ready for the playoffs or didn't get ready for the playoffs is moot right now. We got to go out here and win a game.
Jerry Jones joins us here at 105 through the Fan. You guys have been called for 20 penalties in the last 2 games. League-wide, it's they're getting called for ticky-tack penalties all over the place. It's frustrating for us to watch this. The games come to a crawl. Are you seeing the same thing? Is it frustrating for you?
Yeah, we've special teams especially, and it's certainly hitting us. But it's across the league. That means they're really calling these penalties, and that means that as a player individually, you got to have your thinking cap on. And you've got to watch how you throw. I noticed one of the players the other night, and for the Rams, on a punt that he was a rusher, a returner on the punt. Well, he didn't get within 2 or 3 feet of that of that punter, and he had his hands out by his side just to let the official know that, you see, my hands are nowhere; they're just out here. That's a conservative way to play special teams, and I think it's called for. You're in territory where there's huge risk of getting a penalty. You got to play accordingly. That's called smart, and it's called coaching, and that's called awareness by our players. We've got to do that in order to give ourselves a chance to be where we want to be.
Does it bother you to see the league start calling penalties differently week 12, 13, 14 than they did the first couple of weeks of the season?
Well, I like the consistency. We do have what we call Super Bowl calls where it's too big a game and we let them play. As far as some of these penalties are concerned, it's been said you can call a penalty on every play. But the good news is that we're very aware of it as a league. We're making our officials aware that we don't want them in the game. We don't want them determining the outcome of games. Officials I'm talking about. They do, but we don't want them to be as much emphasis to the game and its outcome as they've been. But it's an overall thing. I don't see anybody being unduly hit. I think it boils down to being a pro as an athlete, and you got to think. You got to think it through. Special teams is about effort. Special teams is about playing smart.
Jerry Jones right here on The Fan. Jerry, is there something that Matt Eberflus did to you guys on the other side that maybe you're concerned about as a future blueprint? Did some of his familiarity with you guys from coaching here play a factor in this one?
I think that it's just a reminder that this time of the year, as you go into the playoffs, if in fact you get into the playoffs, they're going to have you read pretty good. The opposing team is. When you get to the playoffs, they've read your mail. And you need to be pretty creative. You need to, I think I'll use the word change. I've used it a lot over the last few days, but you just got to assume that they've got you measured as well as Indianapolis had us measured up there. But you've got to play. You've got to play through that now, and the way you do it is concentrate on your penalty situation, and concentrate on when you do get your opportunities, cash in on them.
Jerry, last thing on that game. With 4 minutes left, we still saw Dak and Zeke out there. Fans are holding their breath that nothing goes wrong. I know Jason wants to play 60 minutes and all that stuff. How do you feel about seeing Zeke, who's been an absolute workhorse, most touches in the league, a little bit banged up in that game, and the franchise quarterback out there? Why have those guys out there down 23 with 4 minutes left?
Well, I think that, again, I've seen a couple of touchdowns, an opportunity to kick an onside kick. I think when you're dealing with the scores the way you are, I think you stay firing at them. I like to, if for no other reason, I think that's indicative of what we've got coming up. We can't hold back. We've got to get out here and play and play aggressively and let the chips fall. I'm not going to second guess whether a player should be out there or not at this juncture, having played that bad a game. Now, if we were up 23-0, and you had 4 minutes left, and we'd been doing a good job containing the other team, which a big goose egg on the other side says you are, then you might look at giving some guys not exposing them as much.
Sean Lee played a handful of snaps as he returned. What do you anticipate as the future plan for Sean moving forward?
I think that principally because 57 Wilson's playing good and the other two speak for themselves, I think we're in good stead there, and you'll see a conservative approach with Sean as we go through these next couple of games.
Jerry, is David Irving healthy enough to play, and do you expect to see him again this season on the field?
Well, as we sit here today, I do expect him. He's limited on how he's moving around right now, but he's working to get viable.
Was Zach Martin sitting out more of a precautionary thing, or he was just unable to play? And what update can you give us on Zach?
Well, we'll let you know more about how Zach is as this week goes along. We don't have any excuses for Sunday. But boy, we compared to where we thought we would be at this time, having missed Frederick and having Xavier out, having missed those guys, we were getting down pretty limited, and that was impacting to some degree how we were able to execute and how we were able to protect Dak. So that's one of the challenges as we've got coming up this week.
How are things looking for Tavon Austin?
I think that they're looking better, I think is the best word. And now, is he where we want him to be or he wants to be, we'll see. But they're looking better.
Jerry Jones right here on 105.3 The Fan. We're hearing some things about Taco Charlton and attitude playing into some of these games missed. But where do things stand with Taco, Jerry?
Young player. Going into that game, we thought we were playing well enough, getting the penetration we needed with the group that we put out there. When you have games like or a game like that, then Taco, you start looking over your shoulder and saying, well, maybe we ought to get him in there.
Jerry, when you look at the whole NFC, you got to be feeling much better today than maybe even 3 weeks ago. You got the Saints. They won last night, but not putting up a ton of points. The Rams have lost in back-to-back weeks. We all thought that those two were invincible. I mean, how are you feeling about the state of the NFC right now today?
Oh, I think it's competitive as it can be, and it's seeking a level that shows the balance. You got balance with the quote unquote top teams. You go into games here in the late year and you look at a team that has won 5 games, 4 games. That team can beat you, and that's really balanced. But it shows opportunity. It shows that. You can have it together, and any team can be beaten, and they can be beaten. They can be beaten at home, as you saw with the Rams. And for us to do what we want to do this year, it's obvious we're going to have to beat a team like the ones we talked about, the one that played last night in New Orleans. We're going to have to beat those guys at home if we get there. But the first thing we got to do is get there, and that starts out here with Tampa.
Is there a team that you particularly don't think is a good matchup for you guys if you were to make it there?
Oh, I don't. I really must say that our focus needs to be on internally, needs to be on us. We've got to get that right, and so to speak, before we start picking our opponents or one that we would prefer. prefer, which I don't know that's your question, but the facts are that we're going to have to beat some good teams on the road. Are they beatable? Yes, they are beatable. But by the same token, we are too, to be trite, and we've got to worry about that part of it.
All right, Jerry, last thing, and there are stakes on the line amongst us. Does Jerry Jones do Christmas shopping?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm a big believer, and I make a big truck available for those that love me to pick up my present in. And but I love Christmas and the whole business of exchanging gifts and recognizing that time of year what fans and friends and family are all about.
But Jerry, you're not going into the mall. You're not going into the mall in the stores picking up gifts, though.
Listen, I have to. I was born. My family was in the grocery business at least through high school for me, and a big, nice part of that. My sister and I lived above our store. And it was so festive. It's so wonderful as you set up the displays and all the fruit and all that kind of stuff in a supermarket atmosphere. To this day, to get in the Christmas spirit, I literally have to go to a supermarket, go in that store, walk around. You can't do it without picking up a bag and shopping. And I have to do that to get in the spirit. I love to do it.
Dang it.
Thank you. You just made us some money.
All right, Jerry. We appreciate it. Here's that big win on Sunday. Thank you for the time as always.
You bet, guys. Thank you.
I want more money.
Gotta send Troy the Venmo.
That's right.
Yeah, you got to tell. The follow-up should have been, and where do you like to frequently shop, Jerry? Because I would have been shocked if he'd have been
Albertsons.
able to.
Yeah,
There you
Albertsons
go.
top
Yeah,
top.
Albertsons
I get
top
all
top.
my stuff at Albertsons. All right. At Albertsons. All right. At Albertsons. All right.